Good evening and welcome to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium for Week 3 of varsity football action. The Lake Minneola Hawks taking on the Wekiva Mustangs. Both of these teams just making it into the Orlando Sentinel Super 16 after its second release. Mustangs coming off of a tough come-from-behind win for Ocoee last week, so that was their first loss on the season, but it was a very tight game. Wekiva looking to bounce back. Lake Minneola, a team with a lot of expectations, a lot of history, and a desire to get back into the playoffs this year. My name is Mark Barchi, voice of the Mustangs and sports information director here at Wekiva High School, and I am joined once again, as always, by Neil Fisher of the Apopka Chief, and we will be taking you through tonight's broadcast of Week 3.
Yeah, Mark, I think you put it well there when you said both these teams came in this season with high expectations, and of course Lake Minneola has certainly lived up to those expectations, going 2-0 in their first two games. They defeated Eustis by a 42-0 score, as well as Melbourne by a 29-14 score. Obviously not nearly as impressive, but still a decisive victory. That was a game in which they actually led by more than 2 touchdowns. Melbourne scoring in the last few minutes to make it a closer score. And Coach Schwartz, if you're new to Wekiva, Jeremiah Schwartz, the head coach for Wekiva, beginning his second season, simply said Lake Minneola is the most complete opponent faced so far and perhaps the entire season. And they're a team, he also described them as extremely efficient, like about 110% efficient. They are led by their quarterback, Quinn Nyman. He is a transfer from Bishop Moore, and he's completed 60% of his pass attempts, and among those completions are a 70-yard pass into with Braylon Noth last week. That was a catch and reception, a short pass, which wound up going for 70 yards. So certainly he's got the supplemental players to go along with his extreme efficiency. And John Celestine on the ground rushed for 3 touchdowns last week. He's rushed over 100 in both of his games. You look at Wekiva, and we'll talk more about this as we get into tonight's game. Of course, we'll talk more about, because we are the in-house broadcasting team here at Wekiva. Certainly had an opportunity to go 2-0 last week, as Mark mentioned. A very painful loss. They had a 14-7 lead, and they committed over 10 penalties last week, 14 for 91 yards. However, and then they probably committed about another half a dozen that were not tangible, that you don't get penalized for, stuff like maybe throwing to the wrong receiver, or if you're the running back going the wrong way, or blocking the wrong person. But amazingly, Mark, despite all those mistakes, and again that totals up to about 20, Wekiva still was in a position to win, and it was really 2 specific plays, 2 specific mistakes, which doomed them. The first one occurring in the first half, midway through the second quarter, 80-yard pick 6 by the Ocoee safety, Tyree Davis, throwing that, what's called jumping the route. If you're not familiar with that term, that just simply means the safety wound up stepping in front of the intended receiver at exactly the same time the ball got there. There was nobody in front of him in terms of Wekiva. 80 yards down those numbers, and it was a 7-6 lead for Ocoee. Wekiva came back on the very next possession, scoring a touchdown, showing no wears, no damage, and they took a 14-7 lead. But then a penalty on Ocoee's last possession, about 4 minutes remaining, a roughing the punter penalty gave Ocoee a second life. They kept the ball, and they wound up moving that ball. The penalty occurred in the end zone, an 80-plus yard drive, which doomed Wekiva.
Wekiva High School welcomes you to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium for Week 3 of varsity football competition. Please welcome our guests from Lake Minneola High School. They are the Hawks. And they'll be taking on your Wekiva High School Mustangs. As our team captains take midfield for the coin toss, the Hawks have won the toss and have elected to receive. That means they'll have the opening possession of the first half. And we'll take this opportunity to thank our game officials for tonight's game. The referee is Kerry Jackson, umpire Jonathan Stewart, linesman Charles Young, line judge Tondrick Robinson, back judge Dennis Cutlip, and electronic clock operator Julius Walker. And now we invite you to please stand as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem, performed tonight by the Wekiva High School Marching Band, who is welcoming as their guests that you can see over in the north end zone, the Piedmont Lakes Middle School Band, joining us as our special guests for Middle School Band Night. Tonight's colors are presented by the cadets of Wekiva's Air Force Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps program. The detail is under the command of Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Genesis Ramirez Traverso, carrying the U.S. flag. Carrying the Florida State flag is Cadet Senior Airman Michaela Johnson. Carrying the Air Force flag is Cadet Airman Melanie Huffman. Carrying the POW MIA flag is Cadet Airman Catherine Neal. And the Rifle Guards are Cadet Major Derek Skeet and Cadet Second Lieutenant Prince Rodriguez. We'd like to thank them, along with the Wekiva Marching Band, for their participation in tonight's pregame activities. You may notice that the flag on the staff next to the visitor bleachers is flying at half-mast today, and that is in accordance with the presidential proclamation from President Biden, standing in solidarity with our friends and allies from the United Kingdom in mourning the loss of Queen Elizabeth II. Once again, we welcome our guests for tonight's game in Week 3, the Lake Minneola Hawks. And your Wekiva High School Mustangs! So once again, getting ready for Week 3, and now here come the Mustangs. We got to work on that, getting them to run out during the fight song instead of after it, but we'll work on that for homecoming. Again, Neil Fisher joins me for tonight's game, and as we talked about that heartbreaking loss last week, which was sort of poetic for Ocoee because Ocoee had suffered the other side of that fate to Apopka in the week prior, where they had lost a 1-point game and a come from behind by Apopka. So Ocoee certainly had a story, a good story that came out of that game if you're a Knights fan. If you're a Mustangs fan, not so much. So Wekiva looking to bounce back. Certainly still early in the season. Wekiva and Lake Minneola both continue to make the Super 16. So these are both ranked teams in Central Florida and continue to demonstrate the strength of the Metro Conference and its greater area. Minneola, of course, from Lake County, our neighbors to the northwest there. And this is one of actually the few non-Metro games that we're playing this season, Neil.
I also want to mention, Mark, while Wekiva took on Ocoee and Olympia in their first two games, 26 times combined that they played those two teams, this is actually the first time they have faced Lake Minneola. Of course, both these schools, very similar history. Wekiva opened in 2007. Lake Minneola opening in 2010. Both these teams needed 5 seasons to get to the playoffs for the first time. And Lake Minneola will receive the ball to start, which means Wekiva will be on defense first.
Yeah, that's an interesting choice there. I know you mentioned that Coach Schwartz also has this preference, but Lake Minneola won the toss and they elected to receive first. So they will have an opportunity to set the tone for tonight's game.
And so that's Christian Innocent putting the ball on the tee, the linebacker who doubles up as the kicker. Your starting defense for Wekiva. Your defensive line going left to right, number 11, Davian Watkins, number 99, James Mixon. On the right side, Omar Hayes, number 12, and then Sincere Edwards, the UCF commit, only a sophomore and already committed as we are underway from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Wekiva looking to rebound from last week's loss, and 32-yard line will be Lake Minneola's starting position.
Ethan Cole takes it from the 20-yard line, stopped by Donovan Knight of the Mustangs kicking team. And that is a return of about 12 yards. Takes it out to the 34-yard line, and the Hawks will take over from there with their first offensive possession of the game.
So the rest of the starting defense, linebackers, Quaidar Cargill, number 8, Aaron McCray, number 6. We'll get to secondary in just a minute as Nyman goes under center, and we got a delay here right at the beginning. Lake Minneola running out of that spread, just like Wekiva. Of course, most schools nowadays using some form of the spread. And their main running back, Celestine, lined up to the left of Nyman. Fake handoff. And right off the bat, they go to that mid-range passing game. David Ramos coming up with the reception, and it'll be close to a first down. So good gain on first down. Good start for Lake Minneola. Again, the efficiency, no huddle.
Pass complete to Ramos, and it is good for a Hawks first down on the opening play of the game. The stop was made by Cargill after a gain of 12. First and 10, Hawks from their own 45-yard line.
And now they go to the run, and Wekiva catching a break. The trip and slip by Celestine.
John Celestine on the carry, and that'll be a loss of 1 on the play. Brings the ball back to the 44-yard line, 2nd and 11.
This time Celestine winding up on the right, and Nyman's going to air it out in one-on-one coverage. Hutchinson
Pass
and
intended
Ramos.
for David Ramos falls incomplete. Justin Hutchinson had the secondary coverage for the Mustangs, and it brings up 3rd and 11 from the 44-yard line.
So the first 3rd and long situation for Lake Minneola. Wekiva's secondary, of course, they use a 4-2-5, which means a nickelback. Matt Perkins is that nickelback. Your cornerbacks, number 5, Justin Hutchinson, number 7, Terrell Gainey, the safeties, a pair of Smith, Ramel, and Jabari, and they get the pressure on them. They dump it off over the middle, and this could be trouble. More than a first down. It is going to be. Score the touchdown for Lake Minneola. 56 yards, and just like that, Wekiva finds itself down 6-0, a minute, 21 seconds into this game. That's Miles Mitchell.
Celestine runs 56 yards to put the Hawks on the board, 6-0 with 10 minutes, 39 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
And score the PAT, 7-0 lead for Lake Minneola Hawks. So that was not a case of efficiency, at least not on the touchdown. That was explosiveness and dynamism. But you could say it was efficiency, Mark, in terms of how it was set up. Nyman, very patient, waited for the blitz to come in, sucked them in, and the little dump-off pass, this bubble screen to Celestine, who went straight up the middle, scooted down the left. Once he got about 10 yards, scooted to the left side of the field, and in sixth gear, there was no one there to catch him. And so Wekiva facing a 7-0 deficit, not even a minute and a half into this third game. Lake Minneola looking to go 3-0 to start the season. The 2020 Class 6A state finalists, they kick off. And we have another disaster for Wekiva. Now, Wekiva averts disaster. Well, that could have been certainly the proverbial donkey kick to the gut. So Wekiva will take over first possession. 10:31 remaining in the first quarter. Down 7-0. Ball at their own 40-yard line. And the starting offense for Wekiva, of course, Tyree Davis under center.
Well, the starting offense is going to have to wait a little longer, Neil. As you mentioned a moment ago, disaster for Wekiva on that play. And now another this time a handoff to Celestine, so he can catch the short passes. He can also take the direct handoffs, and it's Celestine on the carry for a Minneola first down. Cargill makes the stop, but not before. The Hawks pick up a first down deep in Mustang territory, all the way down at the 12-yard line.
So that's a 38-yard gain, second first down for Lake Minneola. No huddle offense, and John Celestine certainly coming. He's scooted and he's plowed, certainly showing both styles. And he'll take that ball again, hands up the middle, left, right, bangs ahead for about 4 yards.
Once again, Celestine on the carry, Cargill on the stop. This one is good for a gain of 2 yards. It brings up 2nd and 8 from the 9-yard line of Mustang territory.
So Wekiva needing to come up with a stop. Not just a matter of the score, but the momentum. And now Nyman will take the ball himself.
Mustangs are not fooled. Nyman fakes the handoff and goes for the QB keep. He's stopped by Omar Hayes of the Mustang defensive line after no gain. It brings up 3rd and 8 for the Hawks.
So second critical third down play for both these teams. Wekiva beaten on that first one, giving up the 56-yard touchdown. Really a pass and catch. Nyman takes the snap out of that one-back set, swings it around to the right, and no dice.
Pass is complete to Braylon Knopf, but his legs are taken out from under him by Tyrell Gainey. No gain on the play, and it brings up 4th and 8 for the Hawks. So now, Neil, it all depends on how you think of your kicker versus how risky do you want to be. You're up by 1 touchdown, just 4 minutes or less into the game. Obviously, the safer play, if you're a typical NFL team, would be to go for the field goal here, but it looks like the Hawks are going to go all or nothing.
Yeah, it was actually a 1-yard loss, Mark. Ball's at the 10-yard line now. So Nyman lines his team up, empties the backfield. 4 receivers. He's going to try that somewhat similar play. And
handoff is made to John Celestin. He is kept out of the end zone, but near first down yardage.
yeah, it's right at the 1 yard line. So it is a first down.
Ball spotted at the 1 yard line. That is a gain of 9 on the play. It is not enough for a touchdown, but it is enough for a first down. And so it's now first and goal for the Hawks from the 1.
So Coach Waterbanks rolling the dice. Didn't look like he hesitated, and certainly he was rewarded for his faith.
Yeah, the offensive line there really made that happen by picking up the blocks.
And now, Celestine going left behind the tackle and guard, and still, no, he did not quite get in there into the end zone.
John Celestin on the carry, short gain on the play, but not across the goal line. Second and goal coming up from inside the 1.
So now Lake Minneola, the quick set out of that huddle, one back set. Nobody on the left receiver, and direct snap to Celestine, but whistle.
Flag on the play, dead ball prior to the snap. False start called against the Hawks. It's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and a replay of second down.
So Wekiva catching the break there with that penalty. And now they'll try to bang it in from about the 5.5 yard line. On second down and goal. 7.5 remaining in the first quarter.
The Mustangs request their first timeout of the first half. So we'll be back with what could be an exciting conclusion, one way or the other, as the Hawks try to get their second set of points on the board here in the first quarter at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Dr. Elizabeth Davis with Orlando Health Jewett Orthopedic Institute is honored to be the team physician for Wekiva High School. On the field and off, they provide a full spectrum of orthopedic services in a multitude of specialties and subspecialties, from hip, knee, and shoulder experts to orthopedic traumatology and more, offering proven leading-edge techniques and technologies. Orlando Health Jewett Orthopedic Institute provides patients world-class personalized care from a number of convenient locations throughout Central Florida. Learn more at orlandohealth.com/sports. Orlando Health. Choose well. Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, where it is now second and goal as Wekiva spends the time out there to try to avert disaster. Wekiva, of course, the last thing they want is to go down 2 scores less than 5 minutes into the game.
Wekiva giving up a 56-yard touchdown. Nyman to Celestine on the 4th play from scrimmage.
So far, the Hawks' offensive line doing some great work, getting the chains to move and opening up that door for Celestin to catch that short draw pass and take off running. Now we're going to get another stoppage.
That's Quinn Nyman under center.
And now the Hawks will take their first timeout of the first half. So each team now has used one timeout. We'll pause for another break with 7 minutes, 37 seconds left in the first quarter.
Of course, Wekiva
We're going to do it at halftime now, or maybe between quarters. We could do it between quarters. Tell you what, go see Coach Glick. He's down there on the sideline at about the 15-yard line, wearing the gray polo shirt. He's the athletic director on duty tonight. He'll text me and let me know what we're doing when I'm introducing you. Tell him that you're here, and then ask him to text me and let me know when we're doing the presentation.
Oh, back to live action. Back to live action from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Wekiva trying to avoid falling behind 14-0, but they got a tall task. Lake Minneola recovered the onside kickoff after going 7-0 in the lead 4 plays in. Wekiva yet to touch the ball. Now they're looking at second and goal. Nyman under center, hands off that ball to Celestine, who's the only Lake Minneola Hawk to handle the ball.
John Celestine on the carry. Aaron McCray makes the stop for the Mustangs. And that will get the ball back to about the 4-yard line for a short gain. 3rd and goal coming up.
Again, no huddle, 1 back set. Trips on the right, single on the left, receivers. Doesn't matter. Celestine takes it, blows ahead, but runs into a wall on that right side of the defensive line.
Celestine on the carry again. Sincere Edwards getting some help from Jabari Smith to make the stop. Now 4th and goal coming up again for the Hawks. So we saw this before with 4th and goal from the 8. Now it's 4th and goal from the 4.
And looks like Lake Minneola is going to kick the field goal, attempt to kick the field goal. So
interesting that they went for it on 4th and 8, and they're going to go ahead with the field goal on 4th and 4. Maybe feeling like Wekiva's defensive line has gotten it together now. So there's the kick. It is up and good. Field goal attempt by Connor Ryan. Splits the uprights, and that adds 3 to the Hawks score. 10-0 the score now with 6 minutes, 25 seconds remaining in the first quarter.
21-yard field goal. So thank you for joining us from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, Wekiva Mustangs home field on the southeast side of Apopka, Florida, right next to State Route 429. I'm Neil Fisher. The other voice you hear is Mark Barchi. He's also the public address announcer, the only public address announcer that Wekiva High School Athletics has known.
Now in season 16, if you can believe it.
And so this time we'll see if Wekiva can actually take over possession of the ball. Right now I'd say the big story is Wekiva's yet to have possession of that ball. So 2 offensive possessions for Lake Minneola. They try the block kickoff again. This time Wekiva prepared, and they'll get better than average field position at their own 38 with 6:18 remaining in the first quarter.
Chick-fil-A of Greater Orlando is proud to partner with Orange County Public Schools. The 2022 Metro Conference football season is powered by your local Chick-fil-A locations. Don't forget to eat more chicken.
So Wekiva go to work for the first time tonight, trailing 10-0, running their version of the spread offense at their own 38. Davis takes the handoff, hands ahead Terrell Weathers with the handoff. Plows ahead.
Weathers on the carry for the first play of the Mustang drive. No gain on the play, 2nd and 10.
So the starting lineup for Wekiva's offense. Start with the offensive line, left to right. Edison Edmond, number 60. Holly St. Molest, number 55. In the center, Enrique Enriquez, number 54. Josiah Jazzy Valentine, number 78, and Josiah Mangiello, number 75. That's your offensive line. As Weathers gets a second opportunity. This time he'll gain 2, a minimal gain, and that'll bring up 3rd and 8. So we're already in a situation, not even through the first quarter, where a critical period of time, Wekiva needing a first down here. Certainly the momentum in Lake Minneola's favor so far. Tyree Davis under center. Terrell Weathers, who's already carried the ball twice. And this will be Anthony Gay. He tries to slip through that defense. He'll gain about 5 yards, but be short of the first down. First completion, but not enough for the first down.
Anthony Gay catches the pass and is taken down by Miles Mitchell after a short gain. It takes it up to the 45-yard line. It'll bring up 4th and 3 for Wekiva.
So Coach Schwartz going to roll the dice here, and perhaps he's rolling the dice sooner than he would like to, trailing 10-0. So your receivers, Cavell Cooper, number 6, who missed the first game actually, the preseason classic, due to an ACL injury. Then you have Bennett, Putnam, and Gainey as your receivers, and they're going to go to the ground. Weathers swings it out, and he slips and slides, rumbles ahead, leaning forward, and Wekiva converts that fourth down into a first down. Its first big play of the game. Success. And they continue to move that ball upfield. They'll be at the Lake Minneola 48 now. So that is a 7-yard gain for the big guy. And he'll try it again, same play. And a flag on the right sideline as well.
Terrell Weathers on the carry for the Mustangs. Stop is made by Dylan Tomaselli.
What was the penalty? Okay, so not sure. Might not have even been a penalty, but there was laundry on the field on that right sideline right in front of the Wekiva bench. That does make it second and long. And now they go to the air for the first time, and Gainey swipes that ball out of the air. One-on-one coverage with Jonah Paul.
Gainey deep in Hawks territory for a Mustang. First down. That puts the ball at the 25-yard line, 1st and 10, Wekiva from there. So not the very first time Wekiva has made a pass, but certainly the last time they've gone downfield into the secondary.
Actually, it's the second time. So see if they'll go back to the ground game now. Weathers lining up on the right. Motion. That's Gay, and yes, and they're going to go back to that left side.
Beautiful block.
Some juke, some jive, and Weathers close to first down territory. And Wekiva certainly putting together a much-needed drive, very productive at this point, looking to answer the 10 points put up by Lake Minneola.
Terrell Weathers on the carry for a gain of 8. Roy Wiggins makes the stop for the Hawks. 2nd and 2 coming up for Wekiva from the Hawks' 17-yard line.
So nothing fancy again, just continue to efficiently move that ball ahead and down the field. And they'll go back. They're continuing to hit that left side.
Weathers on the carry. Sylvester Doherty makes the tackle, but not before the Mustangs pick up first down. Ball spotted at the 13-yard line. That's a gain of 4 or 5 yards. And it brings up 1st and 10 for Wekiva inside the Hawks red zone. So certainly this has been the most success we've seen from Wekiva's offense all night. They finally seem to have gotten the rhythm down. Somewhat conventional. We had a little razzle-dazzle action there from Gainey earlier in the drive, but mostly a conventional kind of handoff, and this is what Wekiva does well. It's what they did most of the game against Ocoee last week. And it's just a matter of execution. If Weathers can pick up the blocks that he needs and outrun the Hawks defensive line, then he can get those medium-range gains play after play after play and gradually wear down the field position. In this case, Weathers picks up 5 on the carry. It takes the ball down to the 6-yard line, brings up 2nd and 5 for the Mustangs.
So opportunity for Wekiva to cut into that 10-0 lead. Of course, they have seized the momentum back on this drive, but you need to complete the drive. Got to get that ball into the end zone to really shut the door in terms of that momentum swinging away from Lake Minneola's side. And Gay takes it, tries to hop skip over the defense. Won't go anywhere, though. Give Lake Minneola's secondary credit. Read the play.
Gainey and Gay team up for the Mustang carry, but it's good for no gain. 3rd and 5 coming up for the Mustangs. And we've passed the 1-minute mark here in the first quarter. Wekiva trying to get on the board after the Hawks really, I think, struck fear into the hearts of Mustang fans on that opening drive. Like, oh my gosh, we better be able to defend against that a little bit better, or else this is going to be a very long night.
A blitzkrieg start for Lake Minneola. Halfback block, Weathers, right, shifts back to the left, and they get ever so closer to that goal line.
Terrell Weathers on the carry. Ethan Cole sneaks through to make the stop. And credit to Ethan Cole there, because the rest of the offensive line had Weathers covered. Everybody else was blocked. It was Cole or end zone, and in this case it was Cole. So it brings up 4th and a short 4 or a long 3 if you prefer. And it looks like Wekiva is desperate to make this game a little closer.
Yeah, well, of course, Mark, we have yet to see an attempted field goal from Wekiva as the sun descends from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium on the southeast side of Apopka, Florida. About 200 fans in attendance. On the Wekiva side, 100 for Lake Minneola. And the swing pass out to the side to Gay. And yes, crosses that line and falls in.
Anthony Gay for a Mustang touchdown.
So this time, the pass to Gay, they tried that pass on the right side. They go to the left side on 4th and goal as the clock reaches 0:00 for the first quarter, and they get the 4 yards they need. Well, it's some great one-on-one coverage, but unfortunately, Gay, the freshman, over 6 feet tall, unable to be corralled there by that secondary, and he tumbles into the end zone, cuts the lead to 10-6, and now Christian Innocent will be looking to cut that lead one more point. No score, no time on the clock. Ball down, kicks up, and just like they drew it up on the board, nothing fancy.
Innocent splits the uprights on the PAT. Mustangs cut the Hawks lead to 10-7 as time has expired on the first quarter.
So 10-7, Lake Minneola still with the lead, but definitely momentum seized back by Wekiva. 62 yards, 12 plays. And a 10-7 deficit now, certainly a lot better than 10-0. And as Mark pointed out, we have quelled that momentum that Lake Minneola gained right from the beginning. They scored on their 5th play from scrimmage, a 56-yard pass and catch, a bolt Nyman to Celestine. And then they got the ball back on not so much an onside kick. It was more of a plop. Just went about 12, 15 yards in the air. Caught Wekiva off guard. And they turned that into a 21-yard field goal to score their 10 points. Battle between two teams ranked in the Orlando Sentinels Super 16. Wekiva coming in 1-1 and ranked 15th. Lake Minneola coming in 2-0, ranked 14th.
Returned by DeKieran Glover, taken down by Marcus Conyers.
Second quarter.
Yes. Ball is spotted at the 28-yard line of Hawks territory, and Lake Minneola will take over from there with 1st and 10 for their first possession of Q2.
So Lake Minneola now looking to reassert that momentum in some of their style and game. And talked about in the pregame and then the first couple of minutes of this game about the collapse that Wekiva had last week against the Coe. They had a 14-7 lead. Made 20 or so mistakes, 14 penalties, about 6 more of a non-penalty sort as Nyman lines his team up, one back set, and hit head on, smack dab into, that was Cargill.
John Celestine on the carry. Kadar Cargill makes the TFL. Takes the ball back to the 28-yard line and brings up 2nd and 11.
And in that game last week, though, despite all those mistakes, Wekiva, if they had just averted 2 of those mistakes, an 80-yard pick 6, Tyree Davis throwing it to the secondary who jumped the route, the safety jumping the route, and then a roughing the punter or kicker penalty in the end zone, which would have given the ball back to Wekiva. That was the very last Ocoee possession. They wound up scoring off of that, continuing to hold possession as the short pass. It was up 3rd and mid-range. That's Knopf coming up with the 5-yard or so reception.
Pass complete from Nyman to Knopf. A gain of 4 on the completion, or excuse me, a gain of 5, counting the original -1. And that puts the ball at the 34-yard line and brings up 3rd and 6.
So if Wekiva avoids those 2 mistakes, they are 2-0. But in the bigger picture, Coach Schwartz flat out said, if we play the way we did against Ocoee in that second half, we will not win tonight. And let's see if they can continue. No. Well, they had an opportunity to really gain some momentum, but the big catch down that left sideline.
Pass is complete at the 22-yard line of Mustang territory. What?
3 caught it.
Completion by Braylon Knopf, and that is good for a Hawks first down.
So as you heard Mark say, ball now at Wekiva's 22-yard line. The Nyman to Knopf completion, and this isn't going to go anywhere. Ran smack dab into a train in the middle of that off defensive line.
Tompkins on the carry for the Hawks. No gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up for Lake Minneola.
That's Celestine.
That was
20. So the first time tonight, someone other than John Celestine carries the ball for Wekiva. A beautiful night for football from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium as the Hawks go to the air, and there's that efficiency. The screen and shaking and shivering down that sideline.
Screen to Denari Adams, pushed out of bounds by Samaj Scott. That is short of the touchdown, but good enough for a Hawks first down. Puts the ball at the 9-yard line, 1st and goal.
So a 13-yard pickup. And as you just heard Mark, I'm Neil Fisher. 1st and goal for Lake Minneola, the 3rd time in 3 possessions. They have been inside that 10-yard line. And a direct snap to Celestine, who plows ahead, lowers his shoulder, and give the touchdown to Lake Minneola. The answer, 16-10, 16-7, PAT coming up.
John Celestine with a 9-yard touchdown run, and that will add 6.
And ball down, PAT up, and 17-7, 8:59 before halftime.
Connor Ryan's extra point is good. That extends the Hawks lead back to 10. 17-7 the score with 8 minutes, 59 seconds remaining in the first half. So Connor Ryan, who just had that extra point and is also responsible in total for 2 extra points and a field goal tonight. We'll also have the kickoff here. And Wekiva's got some room taken at the 28-yard line. And that is Ramel Smith from the 28. Picks up a lot of sideways yardage and then some forward progress. He's out to the 43-yard line of Mustang territory. Wekiva takes over from there with 1st and 10. Tyree Davis on the carry for the Mustangs. He picks up 4 on the carry. That pulls the ball up to the 48-yard line. We'll call that an even 5. It brings up 2nd and 5 for the Mustangs. Mustangs looking to answer here in what could be headed toward a high-scoring game. Weathers finds a hole, and it's Terrell Weathers on the carry, chased down from behind by Johnny Rhymes to save what could have been a big Mustang game, but still enough for a Mustang first down. Ball spotted at the 44-yard line. That's pick up a 9 on the carry, and it's 1st and 10 Mustangs in Hawks territory. So the Mustangs get Weathers some good blocks there. And again, if not for Rhymes, he might have broken away for the touchdown there. Handoff, different handoff strategy this time. Joshua Bennett on the carry for the Mustangs. Ethan Cole makes the stop after a gain of 4. That pulls the ball down to the 40-yard line of Hawks territory, brings up 2nd and 6. Shotgun snap. Davis has some time, goes long, and it is in and out of the hands. The pass intended for Tyrell Gainey. The pass falls incomplete, and it brings up 3rd and 6 for the Mustangs. So not a bad idea there. The Mustangs thought they had an opening in the secondary. Didn't pan out. Now Wekiva looking for the 3rd down conversion. They are in high school no man's land. Relatively few high school kickers are capable of hitting a field goal from this distance. Frankly, very relatively few college and pro kickers can hit one from this distance, but it is almost too far to make it worth punting. So we'll see if Wekiva considers this 4-down territory here. As we get close to the midpoint of the second quarter, we should have the official timeout in the water break coming up at any moment. And now Davis is going to take off himself. There is a flag in the backfield, but provisionally he's got the 1st down. Tyree Davis on the QB keep, stopped by Andrew Bowles. And that would be a gain of about 10 yards, but it's going to come back. Holding called against the Mustang offense. It's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul on a replay of 3rd down. So Wekiva not able to catch a break on offense here in the second quarter. That at least was a penalty in the course of play, so that one perhaps will not have Coach Schwartz tearing his hair out quite as much as the penalties last week did, which were largely dead ball penalties and arguably cost Wekiva the game. I mean, certainly Ocoee did their job as well, particularly on the final drive as their defense made the stand to keep the Mustangs out of the end zone. So you can't take that away from Ocoee, but Wekiva had many opportunities to end an Ocoee drive and then ended up giving them a first down on penalties. Now Wekiva's offense losing yardage to penalties as opposed to the defense, which saw most of that penalization last week. But it brings up 3rd and 21 for the Mustangs. Obviously, Wekiva's looking to throw here. Snap to Davis. Gets some time from his offensive line. Has a man, and the pass is just too high to be pulled down as the pass is intended for Anthony Gay, and it falls incomplete. 4th and 21 now coming up for Wekiva. And 4th and 8, you might have seen a scenario where Wekiva would have gone for it, but at 4th and 21, you have to believe that this is going to be a punting situation. And we have passed the 6-minute mark of the second quarter, but it looks like the officials are going to go ahead and wait for the possession to change before they call the water break. There's a little bit of discretion involved there. It's supposed to be the dead ball nearest the 6-minute mark of the second quarter, but if you're in a situation like this where possession is about to change and the momentum would have stopped anyway, that's a good time to do it. Punt away from Noah Putnam, and it's not going anywhere. The punt is taken by Braylon Knopf, and Tyrell Gainey is there immediately to make the stop. And that will take us to the official timeout. 17-7 is the score at the midpoint of the second quarter. 5 minutes, 42 seconds remaining in the first half. There's Baptiste, but I don't see anybody standing near him, so I guess we're waiting for him.
Are you muted?
No.
I'm sorry. He just texted me. He said halftime. He's not sure yet.
I need to go before or after the match. That's going to be important. This season, give the gift of a healthy smile. Visit Baptiste Orthodontics and Dentistry for Kids with 3 convenient offices in Apopka, Orlando, and Windermere, offering braces and aligners for all ages. And exclusively at their Apopka location, you can make an appointment with Dr. Alma, their board-certified pediatric dentist. So the Mustangs stymied by the holding penalty on the previous offensive drive. Still a lot of time left in the second quarter. The Hawks, though, demonstrating why, as Neil mentioned earlier, they are the kings of efficiency. There's the pass, and it is complete for short yardage. Pass is complete to David Ramos. Stop made by Samaj Scott. And that's after a gain of 8 yards. 2nd and 2 coming up for Lake Minneola. Shotgun snap away, and this play is over before it started. Flag on the play prior to the snap. Offsides called against the Mustang defense. That's a 5-yard donation to the Hawks' cause, and it is enough for a Minneola first down. So now we see more of what we saw in Week 1 and Week 2 as the defense commits dead ball penalties that give away first downs to the opposition. This time, of course, it was only 2nd down, but we saw that happen on 3rd and 4th down a number of times last week. Spin move at the end gets a few extra yards there as the handoff is made to John Celestine. That's a gain of 4, and it brings up 2nd and 6 for the Hawks. So far, it's been the Terrell Weathers and John Celestine show. Weathers for the Mustangs, Celestine for the Hawks. This time, though, nothing doing as Celestine is wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage by Sincere Edwards. That pulls the ball back to the 38-yard line, and it'll bring up third and 11 for the Hawks. Shotgun snap away. Lots of time. Wide open in the secondary. If he catches it, he's gone. Oh, but he fell. Pass complete to Braylon Noth, who goes down right after the reception, but that'll be good at the 22-yard line. And a Hawks first down. And right now, Wekiva is thanking their lucky stars that in high school rules you can't get up and run if you're not touched. In the NFL, that would have been a touchdown. John Celestine on the carry. Kadar Cargill on the stop. Gain of 3 on the play, and it brings up 2nd and 7 from the Mustangs' 18-yard line. Cargill again. Cargill on the carry this time. That's Celestine on the carry. And this time Cargill gets a little help from Tato Shaw on the stop. It brings the ball up to the 13-yard line, and 3rd and a short 2 coming up for the Hawks. So that's something that Mustang fans have seen a lot of from Terrell Weathers. Cargill seems to have the same bag of tricks up his sleeve for the Hawks. And now Lake Minneola knocking on the door and trying to see if they can add and make it a 3-score game before intermission here. Cargill finds a hole, and he's through all the way to the end zone. John Celestine punches through, and he has a 13-yard Hawks touchdown. Ryan's PAT is no good. That keeps the lead at 23-7 with 2 minutes, 26 seconds remaining in the first half. Stick around at halftime. We've got our friends from Minneola here that will be performing a halftime show. We've got the Wekiva Marching Band coming up as well. We've got the Piedmont Lakes Middle School Band here joining them as their special guest tonight on Middle School Band Night. Before we get to any of that, though, we are very quickly going to introduce our Student Athletes of the Month, courtesy of Baptiste Orthodontics. That is going to happen just before our halftime shows begin. Kickoff return by Tyree Filius, and he is out to the 35-yard line. The Mustangs will take over from there with 1st and 10. So with 2 minutes, 17 seconds, probably not realistic for the Mustangs to hope to go into the locker rooms with the lead, but they certainly would like to at least cut it down to a 2-score game and make this look a little bit more hopeful for the Mustang fans as they wait out the 20-minute intermission. Handoff to Weathers, waiting for a block, gets it, but then finds another wall and manages to dance his way for 1 or 2 yards. Weathers on the carry. Stop made by Avian Ortiz, among others, and that pulls the ball up to the 38-yard line. That's a gain of 3 on the play, and it brings up 2nd and 7. $1:46 remaining in the second quarter. Again, this is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs and Sports Information Director here at Wekiva, joined by Neil Fisher from the Apopka Chief. You have not heard his voice in a few minutes. That's because he's doing his other job for the Apopka Chief, which is to take pictures. You actually see him down on the sideline there at about the 42-yard line, just on the near side of the camera. He'll be back up in the press box for the third quarter to join me for the rest of the call. Weathers on the carry for a gain of 3 more. That brings up 3rd and a long 4 for the Mustangs from their own 41-yard line. Davis looking for options, and he's going to get wrapped up. Pocket collapses there, and Davis is sacked by Ryder Meinhardt for a loss of 5 yards. That'll bring up 4th and 9 for the Mustangs. So now the question is, are you thinking of this as 4-down territory? 30 seconds left. What's the worst that could happen? Well, actually a lot could go wrong in 25 seconds. And so Wekiva is going to make wisdom the greater part of valor here and kick the ball away. At least it appears that they will. Although they're going to let as much time bleed off the clock as possible in the hope that Minneola will not be able to get a snap off. In fact, it looks like Wekiva may take the delay of game penalty. Flag on the play. Dead ball. Delay of game Mustangs. That's 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. And a replay of 4th down. But first, the Hawks request a timeout. So that's interesting. The Hawks want a timeout here, which means that they care about the last second. Since there was a penalty, that means that clock will not tick down anymore. And so there will be a kickoff. And they'll have one shot. So whatever they're going to do, they're going to have to do on the kickoff return. Of course, we've seen stranger things happen. So the fact that Minneola is taking the time out here suggests that they do not consider this a throwaway play. Fourth and 14 for the Mustangs from the 32-yard line. So if you're Wekiva here, the object of the game is just don't do anything foolish. And yep, they're going to just take the knee. Wekiva takes a knee, which would have turned the ball over on downs, but it doesn't matter because time has expired on the first half. 23-7 is your halftime score here in Week 3 of Season 16. The Hawks versus the Mustangs. Don't go anywhere. We have our September Student Athlete of the Month presentation, followed by our marching band performances. And now we'd like to invite you to turn your attention to the field right there at about the 30-yard line. And we want to welcome to the field, along with Dr. Drayton, Dr. Andre Baptiste of Baptiste Orthodontics, proud sponsors of Orange County Public Schools and particularly Wekiva High School athletics. And we'd like to recognize our September Student Athletes of the Month, sponsored by Baptiste Orthodontics. Our male student athlete of the month is busy right now. He is actually in the locker room for halftime, but we do want to recognize none other than Justin Hutchinson. the defensive back and wide receiver. He is a senior here at Wekiva and, of course, is a state contender on the track and field team in addition to being part of the football team. And our female student athlete of the month is none other than Ashley Blanco, the junior setter from the volleyball team who put up some impressive numbers last night in the victory over Jones. So congratulations to Justin and Ashley on behalf of Dr. Drayton and Dr. Baptiste, your September student athletes of the month. Baptiste Orthodontics and Dentistry for Kids is a proud sponsor of Wekiva football and Wekiva athletics with 3 convenient offices in Apopka, Orlando, and Windermere. It's never been easier to have a healthy new smile with braces and aligners for all ages, plus dentistry for kids, available exclusively at their beautiful new Apopka location just across the street from Ketland Nelson Park. Is Lake Minneola's band here? No, because it's just us. No visitor band, we're going straight to home band. Not yet.
It's gonna be really easy, I promise. Your camera ready to get our band.
So again, Wekiva trailing 23-7 headed into the locker rooms. Lake Minneola was not able to make the trip to join us tonight, but we are happy to bring you Wekiva's marching band in just a moment.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for coming out to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium here at Wekiva High School. Now entering the field, your Wekiva High School Marching Mustangs. The band is under the field command of drum majors Miranda Hennessy and Jarmitria Martin. The band captain is Jeffrey Exame, and the drum captains are Makai Jackson and Jameson G. Charles. Tonight, the band will be performing for your halftime entertainment selections from our 2022 field show, West Side Story, featuring Tonight, Maria, and Cool.
You are doing that.
Drum majors Miranda Hennessy and Jarmitria Martin. Is the band ready? You may now begin your halftime performance. Once again, let's give a big round of applause for your Wekiva High School Marching Mustangs. The Wekiva High School Band is under the direction of Mr. Joshua Grossniklas. The assistant director is Mr. Frank Taylor. The percussion instructor is Mr. Justin Eubanks, and the color guard instructor is Mr. Michael McKee. We would like to thank the generous donors who have supported the band program this year, including Bennett Road Automotive Service, Bowen Brothers Transportation, Central Florida Pulmonary Group, Orlando Import Auto Specialists, and Orlando Web Concepts. And thank you to our wonderful audience for your love and support of your Wekiva High School Marching Mustangs. Thank you, sir.
Got it.
Thank you, sir. Of course, we get up in the stands. Last night, last week was weather. Tonight, wasps. Awesome. They had this big old nest. Okay, we've already had like 3 or 4 kids get stung.
Once again, we welcome you to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, home of the Mustangs. 23-7 is your halftime score. We got a little extra time before the second half, as again, Lake Minneola's band was not able to join us, I presume due to a combination of the distance and the weather. But nevertheless, we are here in the press box with a little extra time, about 3.5 minutes to go in the regular halftime interval, and then we'll have, of course, the 3-minute warm-up. And Neil, that was there were moments of inspiration, but also several moments that were kind of hard to watch in the first half when it came to a broken-down defense. Although credit where credit is due, the Hawks certainly seem to have that, as you mentioned at the beginning of the game, that explosive efficiency. They have been able to exercise their offensive line to get openings for John Celestin, to continuously get at least medium range yardage and occasionally to break away. And then they've had a couple of those explosive plays into the secondary that have netted them either big yardage, if not points on the board.
Mark, I think explosive efficiency is the perfect description there. Talked about it in the first half. Started at the pregame. Only mentioned it, though, a couple of times during that first half. But, again, Wekiva comes in off of a heartbreaking 15-14 loss, a painful loss. And it was painful because they made 2 mistakes. They made about 20. But 2 mistakes in particular, if they were able to avoid them, despite all those mistakes, they still win. And that was a roughing the punter penalty on what turned out to be Ocoee's last drive. They scored with about with 1:53 remaining. It was about 3 minutes before they scored that penalty was committed. It was committed in the end zone. And so Ocoee not only keeps possession of the ball, but they drive 80 yards for what turns out to be the winning drive. And then, of course, in the first half, Tyree Davis throws a pick 6. The safety jumps the route 80 yards. No Wekiva defenders, they become defenders after the interception in front of them. So the reason I bring that up from last game is because Coach Schwartz simply said, look, if we play the way we did last week, and in particular that second period, and we made too many mistakes, and it wasn't just the offense or the players, the execution, we got way too lazy in our play calling. We settled into our play calling. We are a downhill power running game, and we throw in some finesse, and we've seen that in the first 2 games from Weathers, but we didn't do that. We tried throwing passes, which there's nothing wrong with throwing passes. We just tried it too much. It should be more of a supplement as opposed to 50-50, which is what they did last week. And the reason I bring all that up is because I don't really think that that's really been the story today when you look at that 23-7 deficit. I think it's far more what Lake Minneola has done as opposed to what Wekiva has not done. And that started, again, from the very first possession. Wekiva gave up Wekiva on that first possession, they did give up a 56-yard. That was Quinn Neiman to, as you mentioned, John Celestin. It was a simple play. It was just a dump-off pass. Selliston, the running back, he was about right at the line of scrimmage. Neiman sucked the defensive line in. There were two defenders who looked like they were going to sack him, but they let that area wide open right at the line of scrimmage and gave Selliston an opportunity to go from first to fifth gear in about 5 yards, and then he did the rest, making a couple of jukes, jives at the 5 and 10 yard mark. But and as you could probably, I do apologize for that pause. Again, remember, we do not have a statistical team here. So, but if my memory serves me correctly, because I was looking for that play that I written down, right before that, though, it was a third down play, and they got a 12-yard gain, which kept the possession alive in the first place. And granted, it was not the same design in terms of where they threw it or who they threw it to, but it was the same in terms of the patience. And then once Wekiva overcommitted, boy, it was – they went for the throat on that to the right side.
Yeah, I know you and I, Neil, both criticized Wekiva's defense quite a bit over the first two games for the dead ball penalties that created additional first downs for the opposition. Tonight has been better in that department. Not perfect. We have seen there's at least one, if I recall, first down on penalty from the defense.
I just want to also make the point that penalties is a big part, but it's not the only part. They've made a lot of non-penalty mistakes.
Certainly. So what we talked about, at least for the first 2 weeks, has been cleaned up. But as we mentioned, Lake Minneola is requiring a little bit more than that from Wekiva this week. In particular, like I said, their offensive line has been excellent in creating room for John Selliston to find those openings, and certainly he has a lot of speed himself. And then, of course, when we've had those one-on-one secondary performances, we've seen a couple of blown coverages from Wekiva that there was that one catch, of course, we remember late in the second quarter, that if it had been NFL rules, that would have been a touchdown, if not for the fact that the ball is dead as soon as your knee touches the ground in high school. So Wekiva got saved by NFHS rules from that becoming a score any sooner than it already did. But certainly Wekiva has their work cut out for them in the second half here. Now essentially a 3-score game for Wekiva to be able to retake the lead. And so they are going to need to come up with some answers from the halftime huddle as we get ready to go into the third quarter here in week 3.
I also want to point out, too, talked about that first touchdown, the 56 yards, but then they came back and tried, I guess you could call it the plop kick, went about 15 yards in the air. And to be honest, if you were listening, I do apologize. I made a mistake. I thought Wekiva recovered it. But nonetheless, Wekiva certainly was not ready for it. Yeah, well, and they turned that into a field goal, and suddenly you're down 10-0. And why that's important is it just really set the tone as far as Wekiva's been playing from behind, not just on the scoreboard, but again, to use an Indy 500 acknowledgement, it seems like there's always, at that race, you get 10, 15 laps in, there's always one or two drivers who are always 2 laps down, and that's how it's felt for Wekiva.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you don't have to feel too badly about that blunder, Neil, because it fooled at least 11 other people in the stadium besides you.
So, but the other thing, too, I want to point out, again, the explosive efficiency. Lake Minneola is no huddling, and I got to tell you, it's probably been 15 years since I've seen a team that's as efficient in terms of being able to set and control the tone, not just, again, I mentioned that on the scoreboard, but just in terms of the feel and the direction of play from play. And Wekiva, again, they just, I don't want to say that they weren't prepared. It's not like a heavyweight match where they're getting pummeled against the ropes, but you just feel like they're not quite up to par. They're like a step behind, obviously on the field in the actual play, but just in terms of the mental, trying to match up mentally.
Anthony Gay on the kickoff return. The Mustangs will have the opening offensive possession of the third quarter, and that will begin from their own 37-yard line.
So Wekiva has its work cut out. And the other thing, too, about the fact that Wekiva, that kickoff and the fumble on the kickoff, that puts Wekiva one possession down as well. So they're trying to catch up in that in that department as well.
Yeah, that's effectively a turnover, or has the same net result. And now we're going to get a handoff to a name we haven't heard as much of. That's Tyree Phileas. And Phileas on the carry gets out to the 45-yard line.
So a good start for Wekiva.
That'll bring up 2nd and 4 for the Mustangs.
6 yards on that first carry. Certainly hope that that's a sign of things to come for Wekiva. 2nd and 4, as Mark mentioned.
And it is nice to see somebody other than Terrell Weathers get a touch. I mean, Weathers, for his part, has done a great job for Wekiva, but it starts to become a little bit of a broken record at some point. It telegraphs your intentions to Lake Minneola when there's only one running play in your playbook. So now we have another handoff.
This is Weather. Oh, no,
it's
that's
not.
number 13.
That is going to be
Putman.
Jalen Putman. Up the middle for a Mustang. First down. So here you can see on the replay as he's going to cut right through. Got some good blocks there. And the stop was made by Miles Mitchell. That puts the ball just barely into Hawks territory at the 49-yard line. 1st and 10, Wekiva.
So one other thing, as you heard Mark say, 1st and 10 at Lake Minneola's 49, 11 yards on the first 2 plays, certainly a good start. But I do not believe that Weathers has had any carries more than 4 yards tonight. So Lake Minneola certainly has done its job scouting and preparing, as now Weathers does take that ball and he jukes and jives, as we've become familiar with that.
Now, that was not Weathers. That was Tyree Davis on the QB keeper.
Davis.
And he picks up first down yardage for the Mustangs. The ball spotted at the 38-yard line. 1st and 10, Wekiva after a gain of 11. So, yeah, Davis looking for something in the secondary. Minneola had the whole secondary very well covered. And so Davis said, well, I guess if you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. So he found the outside corner, turned on the afterburners, and managed to make something out of nothing on that play.
So 10:21 remaining in the third quarter, 23-7 deficit by Wekiva. With possession, they're going to go with that sweep. Well, more of a draw, and this will be a shorter gain. Just
Tyree Phileas on the carry.
2 yards.
Ball's on the tackle. That'll pick up the 36-yard line and a gain of 2. 2nd and 8 coming up for Wekiva. So what has been the Terrell Weathers show for the first half, and now I do not see Weathers in formation at all.
No, and I was going to say,
in fact, I see him on the sideline here at 48.
Yeah, right behind the referee. As that is Scott who takes the ball.
Samaj Scott on the carry. Andrew Bowles on the stop. And that puts the ball at the 32-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and 4, and we'll pause for an injury timeout.
And it makes you wonder, Mark, is Terrell Weathers not seeing any time because, well, for lack of a better way of saying it, he's in the doghouse, or is Coach Schwartz just trying to change things up, give a different look to the defense?
Ethan Cole shaking up on the play, making his way off with the assistance of the Minneola athletic training team. Again, it'll be 3rd and 4 for the Mustangs, coming back from the short interruption. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, I don't hear what happens in the locker room and on the sideline, but certainly Terrell Weathers' performance, I thought, was, if not necessarily dazzling, was adequate in the first half. But to your point, Coach Schwartz may just be trying to change things up here and keep the Hawks on their toes, because I think Lake Minneola, certainly late in the second half, was starting to get pretty good at reading what we were going to do before we did it. So
Weathers last week, 184 yards on 20 carries, 363 in the first 2 games, and they're going to stay on the ground as Davis slides to the outside, hop skips back to the right, and picks up that first down. So Wekiva off to the start it needs in the second half.
Tyree Davis on the QB keeper, stopped by Dylan Tomaselli, and there's a flag on the play.
And it's against Wekiva. And so, unfortunately, that nifty run by Davis is going to go for naught. And it's
holding called against the Mustang offense. That's a 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. And a replay of third down. Now it will be 3rd and 14 for the Mustangs from the Hawks' 43-yard line.
And holding calls are they're killers, Mark. And there you see why, because now you're not only having to make up 10 yards, you're having to make up, as you said, 13. So you got like 3 steps here. You got to get back to the original line of scrimmage and then 2 increments of 5 just to have a shot at getting that first down. But more importantly, when you do that, it's just a momentum killer. Wekiva came in, they got 3 first downs on 5 plays. Looked like they were going to get a 6, and you're thinking 25-yard lines or so. What do we look at in the playbook? It's more open now, and now you got to go to the pass.
Blitz coming, and the ball is knocked out. Davis manages to keep it under control, but he's going to go down for a loss.
And there's exactly what happens when you get that holding call, what I was just talking about. You lose the momentum, and your playbook is closed. It's not as open, not as diverse.
Has the fumble, but is able to recover it for himself. Andrew Bowles gets there to make the sack official, and that will be another loss on the play. It takes the ball back to the 48-yard line, and that'll bring up 4th and 20 after the loss of 6. So if there was any doubt over whether Wekiva was in 4-down territory or not, that was erased. Now we're clearly in punting territory. Of course, when you're down by 3 scores and almost halfway through the third quarter, the calculus on that's going to start to change pretty soon here.
And Wekiva is going to go for the first down, try to convert the first down.
So this is a long shot.
So I think we, again, to your point, Mark, I would say, again, I'm not down on the field with Coach Schwartz, but certainly it looks like he's decided we're at that point. We got to take some big risk.
Delay of game is called against the Mustang offense. That's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot. And a replay of 4th down. Now 4th and 25 from North Apopka.
You did just say North Apopka, right, Mark? I did hear you correct?
Yes. I believe I have my cardinal directions correct.
Well, you meant that in the sense that it's a long way. We're in a different geographical region.
Well, one more penalty, and we'll be snapping the ball from Bithlow.
So 4th and 24, 7:01 remaining. As you heard Mark say, long shot now. Got to pick up 24 yards under pressure, and Davis isn't going to be able to get rid of that ball.
That's about the worst thing that can happen on 4th down.
And so we've gone from bad to really just about as bad as possible.
Tyree Davis is sacked by Sylvester Doherty. That pulls the ball back further into Mustang territory down to the 42-yard line, and that will turn the ball over on downs to the Hawks, who will take over from there with 1st and 10. So, Neil, on the one hand, you applaud the gutsiness of going for it on 4th and 25. On the other hand, you do have to question, when you're down by 3 scores, you now give Minneola one of their best starting field positions of the game.
Yeah, actually, it is their best. They're on Wekiva's side of the field. And now Nyman's going to go for it, wide open, touchdown, as easy as could be. Could have waited for the bus and rode the bus on the entire route and come back on that one. 6:31 remaining.
Pass is complete to Braylon Noth on the throw from Nyman, and that is good for a 42-yard touchdown. Did I get that right, Neil? 42 yards?
Just one moment here.
Kick by Connor Ryan is good, and that will put the PAT on the board. 29-7 the score, with 6 minutes 31 seconds remaining in the third quarter.
And so, Mark, we came in expecting a good game, but truthfully, well, you don't have to be the proverbial football guru down 30-7. This has been all Lake Minneola, and I think you just saw really the dam breaking there on that last play. Talked about throughout that first half that it was really the 23-7 lead was more about what Lake Minneola was doing than what Wekiva was not doing, especially coming off of the loss to Ocoee. And that was really just as easy as a guy. I try to be, as diplomatic. I understand this is high school football. You're dealing with teenagers. But there's really no way to sugarcoat that play or to make it sound nice. Wekiva just, wide open, blown coverage.
Yeah, and honestly, that stems from the lack of focus
and yes,
in the preceding 2 or 3 plays. The sack followed by the delay of game penalty, followed by the second sack, and then you can tell that at that point Wekiva is just not mentally checked into the game, and that's where your blown coverage happens.
And that's where I was going, is that it's just been a series of mental mistakes. Obviously there's been mistakes on the field, but those kind of mistakes on the field start between the ears, so to speak. I know certainly Coach Schwartz is not going to be happy.
Yeah, certainly Lake Minneola has had the edge on Wekiva, as you mentioned. Wekiva's been a half a step behind pretty much the whole game, but Wekiva was 3.5 steps behind on that drive.
Yeah, and again, when I said that at the beginning of the first half, it wasn't just on the field, but you just felt like mentally, again, going back to that reference, I know some of you might not be auto racing fans, but you can understand the idea in a race you fall a lap behind. And I'm a longtime racing fan, and one of the things, and most racing fans talk about this, it's something of a joke that it seems like when the Indy 500 starts, as they come and take the green flag, there's always 1 or 2 drivers that's a lap down already.
Terrell Weathers on the carry. He's got a first down on the first play of the drive. Stopped by Andrew Bowles after a pickup of 11. That puts the ball at midfield. 1st and 10, Wekiva from the 50-yard line.
And to finish my thought, Mark, it just felt like Wekiva started this game the same way that those guys those 1 or 2 drivers who start the Indy 500 like a lap down. It just felt that it had that same feeling of not just quite being at the same level as like Minneola, not just on the field, but again, mentally maybe just caught them by surprise.
Yeah, certainly.
Despite the preparation.
And now we're going to get a run up the middle, a fairly conventional play, but an effective one, as that is a number we have not seen tonight. That's Anthony Ellison getting his first touch of the game. And he is stopped by Mitchell after a gain of 7. 2nd and 3 coming up for the Mustangs.
So that's actually his first carry of the season.
Yeah, that certainly is a change up to fool the Hawks, and it seems like it did. We saw Terrell Weathers come back in this series for the first time since we changed quarters.
So 2nd and 7 for Wekiva, down 30-7, 5:16 in the third, and they will get that first down. It's sliding off that right side. Weathers
on the carry, stop made by Johnny Rhymes, and he falls forward for a Mustang first down. Ball spotted at the 38-yard line. Wekiva continues their drive from there with 1st and 10. So something I've seen Terrell Weathers do twice on this drive now and a few other times over the course of the season is that he is lunging at the end of his run for a little bit of extra yardage, and it puts him, from a lateral perspective, just a little bit past the defensive line and forces Minneola to tackle him from behind. And it's the difference between getting 4 yards and getting 6 yards, or getting 6 yards and getting 8 yards, and that's what's moving the chains for Wekiva on this drive.
Yeah, and that's an experience issue as well, not issue, but development as we go down that right sideline and
2-1, it was
Hutchinson.
His if he had been another step forward. Pass intended for Kevell Cooper. Falls incomplete, and that'll bring up 2nd and 10 for the Mustangs. That was almost beautiful.
Cooper, number 6.
Yeah, he had 2-1 coverage against him, but he had 2 steps on the Hawks secondary. Unfortunately, though, the ball was yet 2 more steps ahead of him.
So 30-7, 4:25 in the third quarter. Wekiva trying to get that first down, keep the drive alive, and Weathers pounding ahead, surveying that defense and picking his way along with some power, 8 yards. So that'll bring up 3rd and short.
Terrell Weathers on the carry. Jonah Call on the stop. Gain of 6 on the play. That brings up 3rd and 4 for the Mustangs from the Hawks' 33-yard line. So again, other than the occasional razzle-dazzle that didn't end up working anyway, Wekiva has run a fairly conventional series on this drive. But again, it's been effective.
Yeah, and it's Wekiva football.
Well, the problem is that when you're
down for 23 points.
Yeah, you're down 4 scores. We gotta make something happen a little faster here.
As Weathers, he'll pick up another first down.
Weathers on the carry around the outside corner. And I'm trying to see if I'm seeing a flag on the play, or is that just a generic piece of laundry? No, it is indeed a flag.
So
Holding called against the Mustang offense. That's 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul and a replay of 3rd down.
Yeah,
so once again,
that penalty about 4 yards past the first down marker.
Yep, we saw that happen on the Davis QB keeper in the last series. Now it happens to Weathers.
So I guess if there's any good news, silver lining, is that it was past the first down, so they did actually make some forward progress.
Now keep in mind that
it's not like they lost the 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, which is usually what you see on a holding call.
Right, so this is not as bad as it was in the last series. But keep in mind that in the last series, this was the moment that things started to fall apart for Wekiva. We'll see if they can make it better this time. Well, that's not going to do it.
And there is a flag, too, as well.
The pass is deflected by Johnny Rhymes, and there's a flag on the play. Wekiva was frankly lucky to get out of that play without a turnover. Illegal procedures called against the Mustangs. That penalty is declined, and the result of the play is 4th and 8. So that's one of those where it was not a dead ball penalty, as we get a shot of the full moon and Lake Minneola in full werewolf form here tonight.
Beautiful night for football.
Yeah, well, this is the first time we've started a game on time all season. We were very late on week 1. I think we were about an hour and 20 minutes late. Last week we were 15 minutes late. Wekiva goes long, and it is broken up. Pass intended for Anthony Gay, broken up by Johnny Rhymes. And that will turn the ball over on downs to the Hawks. And you heard a reaction from the crowd that it was a no call from the officials, but from my vantage point, that was clean. It was a play on the ball. It did not unreasonably interfere with the receiver.
Now, Mark, that was clean. And as we've mentioned, I mean, the train has just gone off the tracks here. It's been a 90-degree turn to the right. And Wekiva was down 10-7 in the first quarter, a 10-0 lead taken by Lake Minneola. They cut the lead to 10-7, but really, you just felt like even at that point that was just really a reprieve, maybe even a sense of Lake Minneola having that 1 or 2 bad series at that particular time.
This is at least less disastrous for Wekiva than the previous series was, as at least this one does not end in a penalty and 2 consecutive sacks, putting it at the 35-yard line. But nevertheless, 3 minutes left in the third quarter. It's a 4-score ball game. Wekiva is going to run out of clock here before long.
So no gain as Lake Minneola
Knopf
goes back.
On the carry, no gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up for the Hawks from their own 37-yard line.
So about 200 fans on the Wekiva side, 300 or so in total. They're pretty well crammed in over on the visitors' side. And a beautiful night here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium as Nyman hands that ball off, and they continue to slash, lower the shoulder. And when you have the 4-touchdown lead or 4-score lead, 30-7, 2 minutes remaining in the third quarter, no reason to do anything else.
Gain of 4 on the play. 3rd and 6 coming up for the Hawks.
Ball at the Lake Minneola 41-yard line. Lake Minneola coming in ranked 14th in the Orlando Sentinel Super 16. Wekiva number 15. And unless something drastically changes, Mark, I certainly don't think that Wekiva is going to remain in the rankings with a 1-2 record, 2 consecutive losses as the short pass completed. Wekiva does a nice job of not allowing that to materialize into any impact.
Pass complete to Braylon Knopf. And that's good for a gain of 1. 4th and 5 coming up for the Hawks. And to your point, Neil, why should Lake Minneola be doing anything differently? We've seen them do the razzle-dazzle. We've seen them get a couple of breaking balls going long down the field, but they don't need to do anything that risky right now. At this point, the clock is their friend. If they give up a little field position and trade back and forth with Wekiva, as long as they keep that clock running, that's really all they need to be doing right now.
First punt of the night for Lake Minneola as well.
And they're going to pin Wekiva pretty deep in their own territory. There will be no return effort from the Mustangs here. The ball is downed at the 17-yard line. Wekiva will take over from there with 1st and 10 with 45 seconds remaining in the third quarter. So, Neil, you've essentially got 12 minutes and 45 seconds. You need to make up 4 scores without the Hawks getting into the end zone again. That's a pretty tall order if you're Coach Schwartz.
Yeah, and now, of course, we talked about the last couple of drives, at least for a few plays, until the dreaded holding penalty came about. Wekiva did seem to be finding some semblance of its character, its style, Wekiva play, if you will. But unfortunately, Wekiva play, which is downhill running and you throw in a couple of passes here and there, that's again, not gonna. That's not what you need right now. You need scores, and you need scores quick. I know that might not be. It might be a dead horse because you hear a lot of that kind of talk at the college and NFL. But again, that is the reality right now.
Sanaj Scott on the carry. Roy Wiggins makes the stop after a pickup of 3 yards. 2nd, and we'll call it 4 yards. 2nd and 6 coming up for the Mustangs from their own 22. And so while we have seen a little bit of difference in the specific mechanics, whereas in weeks 1 and 2 it was more defensive dead ball penalties, in week 3 it's been more offensive live ball penalties on the holding call. But either way, what you've seen happen is that when bad things happen to Wekiva, when a penalty flag doesn't go their way, it lets the air out of their tires. And while Wekiva certainly has some senior leadership on their team, if you look up and down the roster, they are a relatively young team. And so sometimes that can emotionally affect the direction of the game when you get a tough break like that, whether it's an offsides dead ball call that gives the other team an extra first down like we saw last week, or whether it's a holding call that negates some great forward progress that you made like we've seen this week. Again, it lets the air out of the tires and breaks down that momentum, and you start to feel it emotionally, and then one bad thing leads to another. We'll see if Wekiva can pick things up in the final 12 minutes as we have reached the end of the third quarter. 30-7 is the score with 12 minutes to go here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Greater Orlando area Chick-fil-A restaurants are grateful to be a part of the 2022 Metro Conference football season. Play hard and eat more chicken. Dr. Elizabeth Davis with Orlando Health Jewett Orthopedic Clinic is honored to be the team physician here at Wekiva. Her team provides a full spectrum of orthopedic services in a multitude of specialties, offering proven leading-edge techniques and technologies. Orlando Health Jewett Orthopedic Institute, world-class personalized care throughout Central Florida. Learn more at orlandohealth.com/sports. Orlando Health, choose well. Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium for the fourth quarter, and near disaster for Wekiva as the pass intended for Sincere Edwards falls incomplete and is nearly picked off by Quentin Taylor, and that will bring up 3rd and 6 for the Mustangs.
And if you're the local TV reporter, I think that might be a play you lead with because really that epitomizes, just represents Wekiva's performance tonight. Just not quite up to snuff again. The analogy of being a lap or two behind in a race, and going back specifically to the Indy 500 to start, there always seems to be one or two drivers who starts a lap or two down. But it's a beautiful night here at Baptist Orthodontic Stadium. Unfortunately for the home folks, the Wekiva faithful, can't say the same of the performance as is that Weathers taking the ball? Direct snap?
No, that's Davis.
Okay, that is Davis. He
Davis
does pick
on
up
the
some
QB
yardage.
keeper, and he has a pickup of 3 yards. That will bring up 4th and 3 for the Mustangs.
And
at this point, Wekiva's in 4-down territory on every drive.
Yeah,
It really doesn't
right.
matter where they are.
And also, want to make the point that while Wekiva has made some mistakes, and I really look at this as just Lake Minneola. It's more about what they have done than what Wekiva hasn't done. And it's been one of those things. It's not like an explosive game where you're worrying about, as Wekiva is not going to get that first down. I believe that was Weathers trying to pick it up going behind his left side.
Weathers on the carry. Sylvester Doherty on the stop. And we'll make sure to watch where the officials spot the ball. It looks like the ball is spotted at the 28-yard line of Mustang territory. And according to where the chains are, that's pretty darn close. We're going to see what they decide to do here. Looks like they are going to call for a measurement. So we'll see what happens there. And certainly I don't disagree with J.C. Carnahan from the Orlando Sentinel having Lake Minneola at the bottom of the Sentinel Super 16 this week for no other reason than we haven't had an opportunity to see what they can do against a high-caliber team. Now,
Right,
this week we have...
They played Melbourne and then Eustis, 29-14 against Melbourne, and then 42-0 against Eustis.
But now if things continue to go the direction it looks like they're going here tonight, I would expect Lake Minneola to appear much higher in the next edition of the Sentinel Super 16 rankings. As we're going to get the measurement out here, and it looks good from where I'm standing.
It is a first. No, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. I mean, that is like the very edge, the point of the football touching the chain.
By a whisker, it's a Mustang. First down. So Terrell Weathers gets the first down to his credit. And, yeah, not a blade of grass to spare. So Wekiva keeps the drive alive, and at least the situation, while it's still a very uphill battle, it is at least not any bleaker than it was a minute and a half ago.
Yeah, and at least for the time being, something to build on. Where I was going, again, with talking about the style, this has not been a 30-7 lead build on like an 80 or a 70-yard touchdown run or pass, or even the defense sacking the quarterback in the end zone or a pick six. This has just been like 3 or 4 plays where all of a sudden, out of nowhere, Lake Minneola puts together that 50-yard touchdown run.
The Hawks request their first timeout of the second half.
And then all their other plays have been the kind that have, I guess, fortified or further strengthened the plays which gave them the lead. I believe they've only lost maybe 3 times tonight, yards 3 times tonight, as Wekiva stays on the ground and, well, got some action there. For a minute, for a couple seconds, looked like we had a WWE match broke out.
Terrell Weathers on the carry. Stop made there by Petty, and that'll be no gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up from the Mustangs' 27-yard line. And that might have even been a short loss on that.
And to finish my point, Mark, if you look at what they've done on the plays that were not like the big plays of impact, again, the explosiveness, they're like 2-3 yards, maybe 4, but those are the kind of plays where if you get 1st and 10, you get 3 yards. You're now looking at second and 7, another 3 yards, 3rd and 4, which is much more manageable than 3rd and 10. As Davis drops back, laser, but off target.
Pass intended for Tyrell Gainey falls incomplete. That'll bring up 3rd and 11 for the Mustangs. And Neil, you alluded to this earlier, that Wekiva is in their element when they are mostly running fairly conventional, draw plays and putting traps, putting weathers up the middle or around a corner.
Not even counter direction or misdirection. You just want to get him. It's not straight up the middle, but you just want to get him 6 yards to maybe shift here and there as he lowers the shoulders.
But to your point, Wekiva's bread and butter is, going to Weathers or maybe one of the other ball carriers, probably 3 out of every 4 plays, just like we did here as Terrell Weathers picks up several yards on the carry, gets ball down to the 37-yard line. And that will bring up 4th and 3 for the Mustangs. But what I was saying is that, when you do a running play like that one, 3 out of every 4 plays, it might move the chains, but it also chews up the clock. Now, Wekiva has those plays where they'll go to Gainey or Gay, but it's not Wekiva's game to keep doing that. But here, Davis has lots of open field in front of him, one man to beat, and he does, and it's Tyree Davis, 63 yards into the end zone for a Mustang touchdown. And Neil, just when I was ready to write off Wekiva as not having a strategy that could come back in the fourth quarter, they go off and pull a 63-yard QB keeper.
Yeah, well, certainly that's a good sign. Certainly the mood has lightened up here on this side of Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, of course, the press box behind the home bleachers. But, Mark, it's 30-14 if they get this PAT, although I think they're going to go for the 2 PAT, nothing to lose. But still, you're 2 touchdowns behind. Actually, you're 16 points. So you're 2 touchdowns behind, but that's only if you can get the two-point conversions. Otherwise, it's 3.
Yeah, you can turn a 4-score game into a 3-score game if you keep making the 2 PATs.
You're still looking at a tall task with only 10 minutes remaining.
Oh, yeah, to be sure, if you're a Vegas odds maker, this doesn't change the math that much. But, to your point, it puts some fresh oxygen on Wekiva's side of the ball, and that's not going to get it done.
Davis goes down, and he goes down hard.
Davis on the 2-point conversion attempt is taken down by Wiggins, and the try will fail. So the Mustangs have cut the Hawks lead to 30-13 with 10 minutes, 6 seconds remaining in the ballgame.
This is the Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network.
For those of you here in the stadium, we'd like to remind you that we have about 10 minutes left on the clock, and so if you are depending on a ride to get home from tonight's game and you haven't already done so, please give them a call and let them know that they should be headed out and on their way to meet you. We recommend that pickups be done in the bus loop on the faculty entrance up on the north side of the campus, and that way you will not run into the traffic of everyone leaving who is in the parking lot. So again, make sure that your rides are on their way and ready to pick you up at the bus loop on the north side of the campus as soon as possible after the conclusion of tonight's game. We appreciate your cooperation. As we get back to live action here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, 10 minutes, 6 seconds, and Wekiva still has a very tall hill to climb, but some oxygen in the room. I wonder if we'll see an onside kick here.
Yep.
And we sure do. That was telegraphed from a mile away, and it looks like Wekiva might get it as long as it went 10 yards.
A horde of players right there at the 40-yard line. And yes, Wekiva.
Mustangs recover the onside kick, and they will get an extra offensive possession and good field position at midfield.
So a second consecutive, as you say, pump or blow of fresh air into the Wekiva cause. And
Yeah, well, just like those penalties can let the air out of your tires, having a breakaway run by Davis followed by a successful onside kick, those are two low percentage plays that have both broken in Wekiva's favor back to back. And so that, just like, letting the air out of the tires can demoralize the team, two consecutive plays like that can give new life to the Mustangs, get them emotionally focused again, and we'll see if it makes a difference here as Davis makes the handoff this time to Samaj Scott, and that's good for 1 yard. It puts the ball into Minneola territory, make it 2 yards at the 48-yard line, brings up 2nd and 8.
Wekiva trailing 30-13 at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, their home stadium. It's been a long night, Mark. Talked about it throughout this game. Lake Minneola has showed up and lived up to their reputation of explosive efficiency. And when I say that,
I mean, you're exactly right. And, I mean, Wekiva, like I said, is finally finding their second wind here, but I'm not sure with the continued running plays and the conventional, QB keeps and handoffs that
draws and traps. That was Weathers.
Oh, no, that was Davis.
Oh, that was
Tyree Davis on the QB keeper picks up 4 more yards. That brings up 3rd and 5 from the 45-yard line of Hawks territory. But, yeah, I mean, the clock continues to run here. And, I mean,
tick, tick, tick.
Yeah, with the way that Wekiva's playing right now, even with onside kicks, realistically, you've got maybe 2 more possessions after this one, unless something really dramatically different happens with clock management.
Yeah, the big thing for Lake Minneola right now is you just want to keep the ball in front of you. Don't give up that big play like we just saw. You can survive that one play, but not a couple more.
There's a nice pick out of the air, and that's for Joshua Bennett. Gets the first down and a little extra as he's down to the 30-yard line for a pickup of 15 and a Mustang first down. So that'll pause the clock briefly to move the chains. Every second counts here as Wekiva gets a fresh set of downs.
And speaking of explosive efficiency, of course, Lake Minneola hasn't had many plays over 5 yards, but they haven't had many plays where they've lost yardage, or I'd really even say gain less than 2 yards as there's 8:10 remaining. 30-13 lead for Lake Minneola. Davis lines them up in the one-back set. Hands off, inside handoff on motion. And we're not going to get the score. A shoelace tackle, and that was Gay, the wide receiver, who again was in motion when he took the handoff.
Anthony Gay on the handoff. Jonah Cali, catches him by the shoelaces to save the touchdown, but not before Wekiva moves the chains again. 1st and 10 Wekiva in the red zone from the Hawks' 12-yard line.
The surge from Gay, perfect call.
And now we're going to get a timeout, and it is the Hawks request their second timeout of the second half.
So while Lake Minneola has not had many runs, maybe, I believe, and again, this is not official. We do not have statisticians at the high school level. Unfortunately, we can't hire an actual staff. But just going over the stats that I've been keeping, they've only had 4 plays tonight in which they gained 2 yards or less, and they've only had 3 plays in which they've gained more than 10. So that means they're gaining 3 or 4 yards on every play. And, if you gain 3 yards on first down and then second down, you're looking at a 3rd and 4 as opposed to a 3rd and 10. Much easier to gain, much more manageable. Opens up the playbook when you're 3rd and 4 as opposed to 3rd and 10. 3rd and 10, you're going to have to pass. 3rd and 4, it's 50-50 whether you're going to pass or run. So Wekiva trying to cut into that lead late, continue this surge, momentum. That's Davis, shakes off one tackle, and now he's just pushing the pile ahead and
Tyree Davis zigs and zags, puts on the brakes, then turns on the afterburners. He is into the end zone for a 12-yard Mustang touchdown.
7:31 remaining, so might not quite be over yet as far as the outcome. Still a ways to go, but certainly not nearly as tall as it was just 5 minutes ago. or 4.5 minutes ago when the fourth quarter started. A 30-19 lead now for Lake Minneola. And, of course, Wekiva will go for the two-pointer. And they're going to go to the back of the end zone, up in the air, tip, and a
pass
flag.
is complete from Salomon Georges to Tyree Davis on the QB to QB connection. There is a flag at the end of the play. So I think this is pass interference, but if it's defensive pass interference, then obviously Wekiva will decline that. So we'll see. So let's see, we're going to get a call here from Kerry Jackson, the referee, as he confers with his officiating crew. Pass interference called against the Hawks. Mustangs don't need that. They'll decline it. The two-point conversion stands.
And we're now looking at a 30-21 lead. 7:31 remaining, Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. The site, Wekiva's home field next to State Route 429. A beautiful night, Mark. Not a cloud in the sky. Rained for a few minutes before the game. When we got here at about 5 o'clock, certainly the field was still wet, as was the stands, but it's all dried up. And certainly now, as we head into this last 7.5 minutes, starting to get that same feeling about Wekiva. Despite the problems, things are drying up, and we're starting to feel a lot lighter, a much easier mood in terms of seeing the Wekiva that we were expecting to see.
Yeah, and just like that, I mean, it's one of those things that makes you wonder what might have been if the fourth quarter had been the first or the second quarter, and Wekiva goes into the halftime with momentum instead of the Hawks. It makes you wonder how things could have shaken out. I remember you and I having this conversation with the men's basketball team a number of times last year that we finally figured it out in the second half, and now the question is it too late? So let's see if we get another onside attempt here. If Wekiva tries to tempt fate and make lightning strike twice, they will.
Slow roller, and it's not going to go 10 yards.
Nope, that one tripped on a worm.
Yeah, it went about 6 yards, and you could see that as soon as it came off the tee. Innocent.
Flag on the play. Offsides is called against the Mustang kicking team. So actually, that's not the penalty I expected. So we're going to get I think we're going to get a re-kick here.
5 yards. Nope, still at the
5-yard penalty from the previous spot. It'll be a re-kick from the 35-yard line. So, yeah, that's actually not the worst thing that could have happened there, because that would have been a failed attempt no matter what. So now Wekiva gets a second chance to either do a onside kick again or to just give it a full-throated kick.
And remember, on an onside kick, the receiving team does not have to wait for the ball to go 10 yards.
But the kicking team does.
The kicking team does, yes. So we'll try it again. 7:30, 1 second comes off the clock. 30-21 lead for Lake Minneola. Wekiva was down 30-7. They've scored a couple of times in the fourth quarter in roughly 5 minutes. And now we're going to get a traditional kickoff, although it's more of a lob, not going deep. And that is Knopf going right back left and runs into a horde of Wekiva defenders.
And we have a special to announce for you from the concession stand being operated by our bands. Right now, all hamburgers, cheeseburgers, and hot dogs are buy one, get one. So you have an opportunity to get a snack before the game concludes here. Again, Building 9 is open for our home fans. Building 10 behind you is open for our visiting fans. Restrooms and concession stands available in both Building 9 and Building 10. And we do ask to help you with our crowd control management by heading to the building nearest you. If you are on the Lake Minneola side, please use the concessions and restrooms in Building 10 behind you. If you are on the Wekiva home side, please use the restrooms and concessions in Building 9.
So 1st and 10 for Lake Minneola at their own 28. And this is actually the first time that they've touched the ball since 3:05 remaining in the third quarter, as Nyman lines his team up in the one-back set and trips on the left using a slot receiver who's now in motion, and we're not going to get the play off.
Flag on the play, dead ball prior to the snap. Delay of game called against the Hawks. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and a replay of first down. So Wekiva breathes a sigh of relief, and knowing that that happens to other teams too.
So the line of scrimmage will now be the 23. And, of course, if you're Wekiva, don't need to be the proverbial football guru. You have to stop Lake Minneola the rest of the way to have any shot at winning this game. And they're going to go with that blitz. And, well, some good yardage, but there's a penalty comes in. Celestine gaining 5.
John Celestine on the carry. Kadar Cargill on the stop. And that is good for a gain of 8 yards. It brings the ball up to the 31-yard line and brings up 2nd and 7. So the penalty there prevents Celestine from getting the first down. And
well, it wouldn't have been a first down, but it would have been 2nd and 2. Again, opens up the playbook.
Right, exactly. Because if you're Wekiva, you got to remember, it's not just that you need to stop them from scoring here. You need to stop them from the first down.
First down.
Every time
three and out.
Yeah, every time they move the chain, that's an opportunity to bleed another about minute and a half off the clock.
So Wekiva, no blitz this time, and straight up the middle again. Celestine could be trouble. It's already trouble, but touchdown trouble. And he's finally brought down at the 20-yard line. Motored left, motored right.
Picks up a big first down for the Hawks. Ramel Smith saves the touchdown for the Mustangs, and we'll pause for an official timeout. We've reached the midpoint of the fourth quarter. It'll be 1st and 10 for the Hawks from the Mustang 23-yard line when we come back from the break. 6:20 to go here in the fourth quarter. Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium. Mustangs trying to get back into this one, but the Hawks have other plans. We'll see what happens in the last 6 minutes and change in just a moment. This season, give the gift of a healthy smile. Visit Baptiste Orthodontics and Dentistry for Kids with 3 convenient offices in Apopka, Orlando, and Windermere with braces and aligners for all ages. And exclusively in Apopka, you can make an appointment with Dr. Alma, our board-certified pediatric dentist. We do want to remind everyone who's here in the stadium that if you are depending on a ride to get home from tonight's game, make sure they know that we are headed into the last 6 minutes of regulation here at Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, and they should be on their way to pick you up. We appreciate your help in getting our administrators home to their families in a timely manner after tonight's game. We do recommend that if you are being picked up, that you direct your ride to head to the north entrance, the faculty entrance of the school. That's over by the bus loop, and that way you will avoid getting tangled up in the traffic from cars exiting the parking lot. Meanwhile, hot dogs, hamburgers, and cheeseburgers continue to be buy one, get one until they run out. Visiting fans can find those in Building 10 behind you. Home fans can find them in Building 9.
Lake Minneola with the ball in a 30-21 lead. 6:15 remaining from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, Wekiva's home field, and they're going to stay on the ground. Nice play, nowhere to go for Celestine, but the run means the clock continues to tick under 6 minutes.
Celestine on the carry. Aaron McCray makes the stop. No gain on the play. 2nd and 10 coming up for the Hawks. Now, if there is one saving grace to this, it is that Wekiva still has all 3 of their timeouts remaining. Lake Minneola only has 1 left. Of course, they don't really need one. So Wekiva can stop the clock 3 times, and it looks like they're going to wait until they absolutely have to play that card, which is smart.
And taking a look at the schedule, of course, Wekiva begins their season 3 straight home games. This is the last. They'll be on the road against West Orange and then Lake Brantley the next 2 weeks. Has another handoff. Celestine picks his way up to the line, still on his feet, slides off a couple would-be tackles, lowers the shoulder, and gets a 15-yard gain.
Celestine on the carry, gets down to the 8-yard line for a gain of 15. It'll be 1st and goal, Hawks.
And just like that, we were talking about having to hold Lake Minneola to 3 and out. Well, now it's just keep them off the scoreboard, and even if you do, you're looking at probably less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, because the first 2-point conversion failed, Wekiva has to score twice. There's got to be, at a minimum, a touchdown and a field goal in order to put Wekiva back on top, and that's assuming Lake Minneola does not score here.
Yeah, and they're clearly in field goal territory at the 8-yard line.
Right, if they were to kick a field goal from here, then Wekiva would be required to get 2 touchdowns as opposed to a touchdown and a field goal.
Hyman lines up, and he's going to take it himself, avoids that first wave, still on his feet, as he swings out to the left and actually gains about half the distance, 4 yards.
Nyman spins for the QB keeper. Sincere Edwards finally gets him from behind. That pulls the ball down to the 5-yard line, and it'll be 2nd and goal for the Hawks.
So officially a 3-yard gain. But as Mark just said, more importantly, it's 2nd and goal. We're going to have less than 4 minutes when this next snap takes place.
And you notice that, I mean, you called
30 to 21 lead for Lake Minneola.
You called it out earlier, Neil, that Lake Minneola, more so than any team we've seen so far in the last few seasons, running that no-huddle offense, that lightning speed, and now they've turned it off because their goal is to bleed the clock. So they're using every bit of the play clock. And there's Tatum Shaw on the Mustangs sack.
Still, though, under 4 minutes, 3:40 remaining, and that's good news for Wekiva, but it's probably even better news for Lake Minneola. They're looking at this from the prospect of milking that clock.
And that's a loss of 3. That'll bring up 3rd and goal. And now the Mustangs take their first timeout of the second half.
So as you just heard Mark say, timeout, which means the clock does stop with 3:27, but the timeout, and that's one of your 3 timeouts are like really your last stand, your last tool you can use to prevent Lake Minneola from using up more of that clock. 30 to 21. 3:27 remaining from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, Lake Minneola with the lead, Wekiva Mustangs Athletic Network.
Looking for a savory breakfast option before school? Enjoy a warm, buttery Chick-fil-A chicken biscuit. Flavorful, hand-breaded, tender chicken paired with a lightly buttered biscuit makes the perfect start to your early morning. Chick-fil-A of the Greater Orlando area, proud partners of Orange County Public Schools. We invite you to join the Mustangs on the road. We were fortunate to open the 2022 season with back-to-back-to-back home games in the first 3 weeks. The next 2 games will be on the road. Wekiva travels just down the road to Winter Garden. They'll be at West Orange next week. That's next Friday the 16th with a 7 o'clock kickoff. Then on the 23rd, they head into Seminole County, but just barely into Seminole County. They'll be at Lake Brantley on September 23rd, and then finally back for homecoming on the 30th.
Back to live action. Wekiva needs a stop. They have 2 timeouts to work with. A hand snap back to Celestine, and he pounds ahead. Dumped. Powers.
Celestine on the carry.
Not quite into the end zone, but very close to putting what would be the finishing touch on this victory.
That brings up 4th and goal from about the 2-yard line.
So a 6-yard gain for the big man, Celestine. And say that in terms of his impact. He's carried the ball over 30 times tonight. I believe only 4 other, there's been only 4 other rushes from someone else, and Schwartz calls the timeout.
Mustangs take their 2nd timeout of the second half, and that I'm not sure I understand. If you're going to take the timeout, take it immediately.
Sooner, yeah.
Like, why do we let 20 seconds come off the clock and then take the timeout? I'm not sure I understand that strategy, but nevertheless, it'll be 4th and goal from the 2 when we come back from the break. Mark your calendars for September 30th. That is homecoming night. The Mustangs will be hosting the Edgewater Eagles, and we'll be celebrating homecoming for the class of 2023. We'll have an opportunity to introduce our homecoming court and crown our king and queen. And the dance will be the following night in the gym on September 24th. Looking ahead, the Mustangs will be on the road at Windermere October 6th. They'll be at Horizon October 14th, hosting Jones on October 21st, and then, of course, hosting Apopka for the Mayor's Cup, or as we like to call it, the Tater Bowl. That'll wrap up the season on November 4th at 7 p.m., and we'll be recognizing our senior members of the class of 2023 for the football team, as well as the cheerleaders, band, color guard, JROTC, and athletic training programs. Welcome back to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium, where it is 4th and goal, and this is the moment where Lake Minneola can pretty much put this game in the can.
Man up time for Wekiva, and in particular their defense, trailing 30-21.
And now the Hawks will take their final timeout of the second half.
2:54 remaining, so if you're Wekiva, again, you don't need to be the football guru. They have to come up with a stop, and even if they do come up with a stop, it's going to be a tall task with less than 3 minutes and have to go essentially the length of the field. However, even before that, though, getting back to the original point, you have to come up with the stop first and foremost.
All right, we're going to pay just a couple of more bills here. Back in a moment with the conclusion of tonight's game. We encourage you, if you're not already doing so, to make sure you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. We are at Wekiva Sports on all 4 of those services. You'll get live updates from many of our home athletic events, as well as news and information about our athletes and alumni. Again, at Wekiva Sports on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and of course, WekivaMustangs.com for all of your scores, schedules, and more.
30-21 lead, Lake Minneola, 4th and goal from the 2. 2:54 remaining. Wekiva needs to come up with a defensive snap. What you would expect, direct snap to Celestine, and he's swallowed up by the defensive line.
Mustang stop by Xavier Stevens. That swallows up John Celestine, and that turns the ball over on downs to the Mustangs.
And that was actually a TFL. Again, mentioned it earlier. I think that's only the 4th time that Wekiva has forced a TFL. And I believe that's a 2-yard loss. Looks like the ball's at the 4-yard line.
So now Wekiva, instead of mounting Mount Everest, is now only going after K2.
The outcome would have been decided. It would have just been a matter of running out the clock. If they had scored, it would have been a 2-touchdown lead with less than 3 minutes. Wekiva does maintain some hope, but again, first order of business now. Moving up from number 2 to 1 is you have to move the ball 96 yards.
Yeah, so that's the downside here is that you take over on downs with a 96-yard field ahead of you. But there's Davis breaking free again, and he's got some daylight in front of him. He's finally pushed out of bounds, and that's Davis on the QB keeper, taken out of bounds by Johnny Rhymes, but not before picking up about 40-plus yards, and a Mustang first down.
So ball at the 41, so officially 37 yards. And, well, hope does remain alive. Now you're looking at a third win for Wekiva. They were down 30-7 entering the 4th quarter. They were in the midst of a drive which would end with a touchdown.
And the other thing that helps there is you get, when you move the chains like that, you get a little miniature timeout while the chains move for the first down.
And now they're going with the blocking back. And I believe that was Weather who spins and again, as you mentioned, lunges forward, and there's only 2 minutes left, guys. You got to get that ball. You got to get moving here.
Terrell Weathers on the carry.
They're going to call a timeout.
No, it's not a timeout. It's an injury.
Oh, injury.
Yeah, Wekiva saw that there was a.
Okay.
Yeah, that there was a Hawk that was slow to get up. They knew that the clock was going to stop anyway. So they do pick up 8 though on that carry by Weathers. So it's going to be 2nd and 2 from the 48 when we come back from this brief interruption in play. As we get the Lake Minneola athletic training team out here, and that is number 9, Miles Mitchell, shaking up on the play, making his way off under his own power with some help from the athletic training team of the Hawks. And it'll be 2nd and 2 for Wekiva after the 8-yard carry from Weathers.
And mentioned a few minutes ago that the football team will take to the road for the first time. They'll be taking on West Orange next week after 3 straight home games to start. While take a look at some of the other teams. Tomorrow, the St. Cloud Invitational for the cross country. Golf and the volleyball team will be in action on Monday. Back to live action, though. Davis lines his team up in an unusual formation. Your running back, that's Weathers, lining up actually behind Davis. No wide receivers, one wide receiver, on the far side. And now Weathers lines up next to Davis. He's going to take it himself. The QB draw, sweeps around that corner and picks up the first down. And that was a page out of the Lake Minneola playbook, explosive efficiency.
Tyree Davis on the QB keeper. He steps out of bounds. And it looks like somebody's, well, we're walking the wrong direction here.
Yeah, that's probably a holding penalty, too.
That's going to come back. Holding called against the Mustang offense. 10-yard penalty from the spot of the foul and a replay of second down. So now this is the third time, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Neil, that a first down has been negated by a holding call. The first two times it happened ended in disaster for Wekiva. We'll see if they're able to bounce back.
Subsequently, the train just derailed, took a 90-degree turn off the track. So first and long way to go from the 36. Excuse me, second and a long way to go. 14 in the air, wide open Hutchinson, and overthrew that pass.
Pass intended for Justin Hutchinson falls incomplete, and that'll bring up 3rd and 14 for the Mustangs. Boy, I tell you what, if Hutchinson was another 2 steps ahead there, that ball was another 2 steps behind. Totally blown coverage by the Hawks secondary. He had nothing but open air in front of him.
Yeah, we're talking about, do we kick the PAT or go for the 2-pointer? But again, you know, the defensive line had something to do with that too, getting in Davis's face.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean they made that play a lot harder for Davis than it otherwise could have been. But still, I mean, it was a beautiful pass. It was just a few yards too long.
About 6 inches too long. Or you could say Hutchinson needed another 1/10 of a second of speed, which says something.
Of course, he is a state-level track runner. So.
Yeah, qualified for the state championship meet in the 100 and 200-yard dashes.
Hard to criticize his speed. He runs faster than you and I do, that's for sure.
Yeah, and even when I was playing football. Now they go to the right sideline, and this wasn't even close. So 1:42 remaining, still down by 9.
Anthony Gay falls incomplete. Now 4th and 14 coming up for Wekiva. So twice in a row, Wekiva's had an open man and just a misread of the route on that one. And so now this is pretty much do or die. If Wekiva converts this first down, then there's at least hope. It's not necessarily a ton of hope, but it is hope. If Wekiva turns the ball over on downs here, then you might as well go ahead and start making your way towards your vehicles.
One timeout remaining for Wekiva, trailing 30-21, and only 1:42 remaining. So Wekiva looking to shake off losing last week, lost 1:53 remaining. Coley scores a winning touchdown. Lake Minneola looking to go 3-0, one back set, trips far sideline, but they come over to the near sideline, and a beautifully executed play. That was Georges actually coming in and passing to Davis.
Georges to Davis on the QB to QB connection. And that puts the ball into Hawks territory at the 47-yard line for Mustang. First down. So maybe not quite as spectacular as the attempts from the previous 2 plays, but a successful, modest play is better than an unsuccessful, spectacular play.
Georges remains in, and whoa.
Pass intended for Joshua Bennett, falling incomplete, broken up by Johnny Rhymes and Andrew Bowles. So that will bring up 2nd and 10 for the Mustangs. That was kind of dangerous.
Yeah, and again, just like we saw at the beginning of the second half, when Weathers was not on the field, at least not for the first series of downs, Davis, the starting QB, we've talked about him through the first almost 3 games now. High expectations. Coach Schwartz talked about his improvement, not just physically, but using that physical maturity. But now they're putting him on as a receiver. He is split left, trips on the right, same lineup. Weathers right of Georges, and they're going to hand it off to Weathers, catching Lake Minneola by surprise. Schwartz takes the risk.
Terrell Weathers has the Mustang first down. Ball spotted at the 35-yard line. And that stops the clock just very briefly to move the chains. Wekiva's going to go no huddle here and try to keep the momentum alive. 74 seconds remaining in the ball game. Another quick throw, and that one is just a little bit under, as the pass is intended for Kevell Cooper and falls incomplete. 2nd and 10. And, of course, that play has a very obvious design that you're either going to get a big first down, or if you don't, you're going to stop the clock and at least avoid an interception.
Yeah,
that pass was deliberately under a little bit.
Yeah, and kudos to Georges for putting it in a place where only his man could get it. Saw 2 passes ago. He nearly got very lucky that the ball wasn't intercepted, threw it in double coverage that time, though. He made the right call. So same formation, 1:08 remaining, 30-21 lead for Lake Minneola. Wekiva with possession.
High snap. Georges manages to reel it in, gets the pass off, and no, it's dropped, but he picks it up and stays in bounds. I don't know, maybe he should have run out of bounds there.
That was Gainey, the receiver.
We'll give it.
And yeah, that
pass
was
is complete to Tyrell Gainey, who then fumbles the ball, picks up the ball, and gets another few yards. The ball down to the 25-yard line, and it's first down Mustangs. So Wekiva continues to be not statistically eliminated from this game.
Into the side of the end zone.
Georges to Davies for a Mustang touchdown.
And again, George is putting that ball in a position, a place where only his man could come down with it. And now you're seeing Davis's value outside of the quarterback. A couple of receptions on that possession. And, hey, we needed about 8 things in a row to happen. We're now down to about 2. An onside kickoff. And then you got to move the ball into the end zone. Before that, though, the PAT. Wekiva's going to go for the 2-pointer, trailing by 3 with 38 seconds remaining. And we're not going to get the play off.
Flag on the play. Dead ball prior to the snap. False start called against the Mustang kicking team. It's a 5-yard penalty from the previous spot and a replay of the try. So now Wekiva will have to look at this again. I'm trying to do the math here of whether it makes a difference, whether it's 28-30 or 29-30. I'm not sure that it does.
Yeah, I don't really see how it would. So Georges steps back, drills that ball in, trying to go back to Davis. It's incomplete.
Pass intended for Davis falls incomplete. The try fails, and so Wekiva has closed the lead to 3 points, 30-27 the score with 38 seconds remaining in the ballgame. And as you like to say, Neil, I don't think you have to be a football guru to take a guess at what Wekiva is going to do next.
Yeah, and going back to you about whether it matters if they get the 2-point or not, I don't see really how it matters, because if you still need to score, even if you get the 2-point conversion, you're down by 1. Well, it might matter.
I would have kicked there. I would have kicked there because then a field goal wins it instead of tying it. But
and I forgot about the field goal. I was thinking the onside kickoff. You know, if Lake Minneola recovers it, it doesn't really matter. But yes, if you kick that PAT, you're down by 2 in an onside kick. If you recover it, and again, I understand that's a lot of if, but like we said, entering the fourth quarter, there were like 8 ifs that Wekiva needed, and we're now down to the last 2. An onside kickoff, and then you got to move the ball about 50 yards into the end zone. Another thing to remember, too, Wekiva has not attempted a field goal this year, and we've had probably 4 times that we were within field goal range inside the 30, and they did not attempt the field goal. So Christian Innocent, of course, has been handling the PATs, but that tells me that I don't think that he can kick field goals, or at least Schwartz isn't counting on him. Innocent now lines him up. Of course, the onside kick. 5 men on each side. The hands team on for Lake Minneola. 4-3-1. Have to let it go 10 yards if you're Wekiva. Comes loose. Picked up. Out of bounds. Wekiva possession.
Tato Shaw has the onside kick recovery for the Mustangs. And Wekiva gets an extra possession. Well, Neil, we're still down to several unlikely things that need to happen, but the number of unlikely things that needed to happen
now
we're dwindled steadily.
We're now down to the very last needs to happen, and that's moving the ball 50 yards. If you joined us late, Wekiva was down 30-7 entering the fourth quarter. They had just started a drive 2 minutes before the start of the fourth quarter, and they looked, as to use the old cliche, dead to right. It looked like it was just a matter of Lake Minneola running out the clock. Well, now you got to move the ball 50 yards in 33 seconds.
I mean, one big play will do it.
Davis lines up the Mustangs. Wekiva, 3 yards. 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 3 yards Motion by Gay, 2 receivers near side, 1 on the right, slot receiver, and that's actually Georges who's still in there down the sideline. Hash mark, and yes, game, set, match.
The ball is picked off by Miles Mitchell at the 10-yard line. And the Hawks will take over from there. Yeah, Joshua Bennett was wide open. It wouldn't have been as spectacular of a play, but gosh, I wish that Georges would have looked for Bennett there.
Yeah, that's where the inexperience comes in. You got 200 or so fans. They've decided to stick around. They're chanting, they're banging. It's a beautiful night. You feel like you've come from really the dead.
Yeah, and
you unleash a ball that you really shouldn't have, even though it was one-on-one coverage.
Yeah, I mean, Georges was playing like there was 3 seconds left instead of 30 seconds left. That was not necessary to do a Hail Mary there, but nevertheless, I mean, Wekiva is not going to come away with the victory tonight, but it is at least an honorable defeat, whereas it looked like it might be something less than that if you had given up at halftime.
So one more snap. There it is. Nyman, who had a very, again, sensationally efficient day.
Now, Wekiva can stop the clock here if they want.
More timeout. That's right. So it'll be one more snap, 2 in total. Of course, I look down and I see Coach Schwartz. He's at about the 40-yard line walking towards midfield. He's taken off the headphones. All the other coaches have as well. And have to ask, why was Georges still in there? I understand that he did lead the team down on that drive, the touchdown, which made it 20.
I mean, yeah, he's got the 2-point conversion to his credit. Then he's got the touchdown to his credit, and another big play in the middle. So I mean,
but still, Davis is supposed to be your man.
Yeah. So I mean, one way or the other, this was always a long shot, and even after all of the amazing things that broke Wekiva's way happened, it was still a long shot. And so here, Wekiva does go ahead and take their final timeout as the Mustangs request their third timeout of the second half after the Hawks take a knee on the first play. It brings up 2nd and 11. And so obviously Minneola is going to take a knee again, and unless they drop the ball, that's going to do it for the ball game here.
Yeah, those of you who are my age, I'm 53, you think back Eagles-Giants in 1979 at the Meadowlands.
Flag on the play. This is
Joe
probably going to be a delay of game.
Joe Basargic dropped the snap.
Henry. Dead ball prior to the snap. Offsides, Mustangs. 5-yard penalty from the previous spot.
Henry Carmichael picks up the loose ball, the safety for the Eagles, and runs it in for an end zone touchdown, winning touchdown the very last play. Does not happen.
The Hawks take a knee.
Before we go off the air, as the final seconds tick off, haven't had a chance to do this all night, but want to also acknowledge the efforts and the performance of the broadcast production team here at Wekiva High School, headed up by Keith Dickinson. They've done a wonderful job handling the video aspects, and that takes us to the end of the game.
That takes us to the end of the ball game, 30-27, and the Hawks will finish on top tonight after a valiant comeback attempt from the Mustangs. We'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight to support your Mustang and Hawks athletes. Thanks also to those of you who joined us online on YouTube, the NFHS Network, or Varsity Sports Network on their Daytona channel for this evening's game. We again want to invite you to join Wekiva on the road coming up the next 2 weeks. The 16th, they are at West Orange, and on September 23rd, they are at Lake Brantley. Your next chance to catch them at home is homecoming. Mark your calendars for September 30th at 7 p.m., and make sure you get here early for that game, as we will have lots going on for homecoming night. Again, Mustangs host the Edgewater Eagles for homecoming on September 30th. For those of you who are here in the stadium, again, we want to thank you for coming out. We hope that you please drive carefully and arrive home safely and have a great night and a great weekend. For those of you joining us on the broadcast, we want to extend our thanks to Keith Dickerson and his entire team at Wekiva TV Broadcast Production for joining us for tonight's game. They've provided the video aspects of tonight's coverage, and we look forward to continuing to work with them over the course of the rest of the season.
Hey, you guys got to stay on the camera until you get the clear. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad.
So once again, thanks for tuning in tonight. It's been our pleasure to welcome you to Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium for these last 3 weeks in a row. Again, a little bit of an unusual scheduling twist of fate that Wekiva started the season with back-to-back-to-back home games. First Olympia, then Ocoee, then Lake Minneola. Minneola improves their record to 3-0 now.
3-0, and
Wekiva drops to now 1-2, although, like I said, this was a lot more honorable and valiant than we thought it might have been.
yeah, heading into the fourth quarter, not only 3-0, but Lake Minneola. Talked about going way back to the pregame show. They, of course, had a run of 5 consecutive berths in the playoffs and dropped to 4-6. Certainly, they came back this year expecting to reascend to that level, including the state championship final in 2020, and so far they've lived up to that. Wekiva, they're going to have to go back to the drawing board under Coach Schwartz. Won their first game, now 2 in a row, and it's been a number of mistakes, but again, just not quite ready when they came out today for the efficiency of Lake Minneola.
All right, well, thanks again for joining us. And for Neil Fisher, this is Mark Barchi, the voice of the Mustangs, wishing you a good night and a great weekend. This has been a presentation of Wekiva High School Athletics in association with Orange Technical College, both a proud part of Orange County Public Schools. Good night from Baptiste Orthodontic Stadium.